Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, August 20th. Over the next few days, the main story across the Great Basin will be windy conditions, especially as we get to mid to late week where winds really start picking up ahead of a strong area of low pressure moving into the Pacific Northwest. So many areas highlighted on the impact map and in our 7-day for these gusty winds and drier conditions. Otherwise, today lightning diminishes and is pushed mainly to the eastern half of the Great Basin. There were a couple lightning strikes up in parts of central Idaho this morning, but those should be moving eastward. And then we see a re-emergent of the moisture from the south, so this will increase lightning activity yet again in Utah for Wednesday and Thursday. So expect, again, probably a moderate to heavy day of initial attack, but again, these storms will be on the wet side. Otherwise, precipitation over the last 24 hours, definitely less lightning over the eastern half of the Great Basin yesterday than the prior few days, and also moisture on the lower side as well. Did have a few, again, isolated thunderstorms up in eastern or central Idaho this morning, and those will continue moving eastward. Yesterday, we had only 10 reported fires for just over 450 acres, so definitely a lighter initial attack day, especially with the less lightning. Did have a couple new fires that showed some growth up in Idaho. Over the last 7 to 14 days, the wet conditions continue over the eastern half of the Great Basin, with much of Nevada, especially the western 2/3 of Nevada, up into western and southwest Idaho remaining very dry. The ERC point map shows that well, with lower ERCs over the eastern half of the Great Basin and higher as you go north and west. Looking at some of our ERC charts up on the Salmon Chalice, we are seeing ERCs generally near normal for the time of year. We will likely see them take a more of a downward trend, especially over the weekend when we see colder temperatures and moisture. And then similar conditions on the western side of the Great Basin with the downward trend. However, ERCs quite a bit higher in the drier areas and above the 90th percentile. Our satellite image from this morning shows this deepening trough of low pressure along the west coast, which will be responsible for our increasing winds between the low and the high well to our east, and will also increase that southerly flow as that low strengthens, pushing that moisture back up into Utah for, again, increased thunderstorms towards midweek. Smoke forecast, really just what's coming off of our smoke in Idaho will impact the Great Basin today, so mainly the north. And looking at our weather pattern, again, that drier air pushes into Nevada with those more moderate winds today. So we do have some high risk over eastern and western Nevada and also up into central and eastern Idaho, Wyoming for the gusty winds and drier conditions, although RHs will be quite a bit drier in Nevada. And you can see that with a lot of single digits across Nevada, but up into central and eastern Idaho, we will see drier conditions today with RHs dropping into the teens. And you can see how that mirrors up with these gustier west or northwest winds across Idaho today, where gusts will be above 30 or 35 miles per hour. We'll also see those gusts over eastern and western Nevada, again, right around that 35 mile per hour mark. Temperatures today still somewhat on the cool side, but just a few degrees below normal. Precipitation, you can see just very spotty with limited lightning activity today. As we move into Wednesday, this low starts to get a little bit stronger off the northwest coast, so winds increasing, still in some of the same areas of eastern Nevada up into Idaho and Wyoming, but a little bit further south in Nevada. But you can see that dryness really push east into Wyoming, and then that moisture increases in Utah. So relative humidity still remaining in those single digits, even getting into these single digits over western Utah, where we've had quite a bit of lightning recently. So we could see some holdovers as the dry air pushes in, along with the increase in winds. Strongest winds Wednesday will be over southern and eastern Nevada into much of Utah, but we do have higher humidity still across many areas of Utah. Also some pretty strong winds in western Wyoming as we see relative humidity drop. Temperatures remain just below normal. Precipitation, you can see the moisture starting to increase in especially southern Utah and the Arizona Strip on Wednesday. By Thursday, the low really strengthens off the west coast. We expect this to be quite a bit stronger winds in Nevada and Idaho and Wyoming. So you can see our high risk continues and expands in aerial coverage. Otherwise, the moisture continues to push north over the Four Corners area. And you can see that reflected in the RHs, single digit RHs with a stark increase as you get into Utah above 30% with that moisture. Still dry in Idaho and Wyoming, and you can see the wind picture on the right showing quite a bit stronger winds. We're showing gusts over 40 miles per hour for much of eastern Nevada into western Utah and possibly up into eastern Idaho as well and along the Sierra front. So many areas of concern with these drier conditions and gusty winds. Thursday temperatures, again, still remaining kind of in those normal ranges, maybe a slight uptick briefly for Idaho. You can see the moisture surge on Thursday, really wetter conditions for Utah, but this also means a significant increase in lightning going towards Wednesday and Thursday. So again, more initial attack, more fires in Utah. 3-day precipitation, again, much of this precipitation is on the Wednesday, Thursday time period. Otherwise, further north and west, either dry or very spotty with any lightning activity. Friday, this is where the strong area of low pressure really pushes into the west coast. So we will see moisture moving into western areas, but quite a bit of wind, very strong conditions. So a large area of high risk for those stronger winds and low relative humidity. And on Saturday, we don't have any high risk for winds, but as this low lifts north, we could still see some potential for high risk for drier conditions and wind into eastern Idaho, Wyoming, parts of Utah. But really, we will see the cooler temperatures and the moisture start to swing through Idaho. Saturday will definitely be the wetter day as this area of low pressure moves through with a significant drop in temperatures. And you can see that change in our significant fire potential map showing that decrease in fire danger and fire potential just with those cold temperatures and any moisture. We could even see some moisture moving into parts of western Nevada later on Friday or Saturday. So again, areas that haven't seen moisture recently certainly will get a bit of a brief relief. Sunday, that low quickly ejects to the north up into Canada, and we see ridging starting to build off the west coast. So this will be a quieter day, definitely a decrease in winds for sure by Sunday with drier conditions. Otherwise, temperatures with this system are more representative of maybe late September into early October. We will see high temperatures Saturday dropping into the low to mid 70s for many low elevations and only the 50s for higher elevations in Idaho. And then cool temperatures on Sunday continue in the north and east. Again, well below normal, obviously, for this time of year. Overnight lows also very cold. We'll see low temperatures into the 30s, some areas near freezing for parts of northern Nevada up into Idaho, Wyoming, and even far northern Utah as we go over the weekend. So definitely a big difference. So for crews on the ground, be prepared for those colder nights. Again, very cold temperatures. As we move into Monday, though, we see the ridge already rebuilding, so temperatures start to warm. Fire potential returns to that moderate category for much of the western half of the Great Basin. So again, definitely nothing like a season ender, just a brief reprieve from the significant conditions going on, and then we'll see those conditions return next week. Otherwise, moisture, much of Utah continues with those thunderstorms this week, but with that cold area of low pressure moving in this weekend, you can see the moisture. We will get some good moisture up into central Idaho. We'll see how cold the temperatures are, could see some snowfall in the highest elevations. Otherwise, could see that moisture trickle down into far western Nevada, but certainly be on the lighter side. The 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us into the first week of September, shows warmer conditions, but possibly some moisture moving in. That concludes the webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.